DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
And I got the book.
All right,
but yeah, they unfortunately Tim Gaines decided to hook up with a groupie and dumped his wife and then married the groupie, and the band was like, no,
yeah, not so much anymore. Hey, gang, you are jumping into us. We're jumping into the show live tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are broadcasting out to Facebook and YouTube on our Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Typically, we talk about tech. We talk about DJ things. We talk about all the important things that matter in your gear world. Tonight, we're going to go beyond that. We're going to a time of long, long ago, far, far away, as we discuss Star Wars.
So actually, funny you start off that way, because I was just reading something the other day where scientists have figured out exactly how long ago it could have been.
Interesting. I did not hear anything.
They've determined that the most recent it could be, or the oldest it could be, would be about 5 billion.
Oh no, we have audio issues again.
Mm-hmm.
Is your phone near, Ben?
No.
No, that's not. So
mine's running on a cell signal, but
yeah, no,
I don't think it's mine.
It's coming from Ben's side.
It's his auto tune.
It is. Yes, Ben was
great.
He wanted to have the Darth Vader sound.
Oh yeah. I have some new equipment. I haven't dressed my wall. Possibly. Let's do this.
Can we dump the fancy equipment and go for something a little lower tech, like an iPad?
Because I had some equipment near the phone. EVRE 320 mic. I have about 6 or 7. They sound amazing.
We're hearing like about 2 or 3 words out of every 20.
What people don't realize is that this is Ben's actual Star Wars language.
Yes,
you know how they created a different language for each of the different aliens in there? This is Ben Stowe's actual Star Wars language. When he's in the Star Wars universe, this is the way he normally sounds.
So is the audio choppy or what?
Really bad?
Really bad. Yeah, we can barely understand what you're saying. We get maybe 2 words out of a sentence, if that.
I'm gonna mute myself, and we're gonna.
So while Ben's working on that, we're going to dig into some of their personal Star Wars collection a little bit, because I think both the guys have got a ton of things with them. And my experience with the whole Star Wars is I'm a huge fan of the extended universe. And Peter, I don't know if we've really talked about this too terribly much. Basically, it seems that Star Wars fans are either they were pro extended universe, and they were upset about the new movies coming out and because it didn't follow the whole canon of the Star Wars universe. And then there's those who are like, oh, they like the new one better. Where did you fall in that spectrum?
I followed a little bit of stuff in the extended universe, but not as much as some fans probably did. And so when they wanted to do the start over from scratch and just keep the core movies as the canon, so to speak, that didn't bother me so much. I was just glad to see them actually moving in a new direction that looked like it might be better than what George did with the 3 prequels. Being a huge fan of the original 3, to see what he chose to do with the prequel 3 was just very disappointing, even though I was one of those who camped out for episode 3.
We didn't hear anything there, Ben, except
still didn't nothing.
It's all auto-tune.
All auto. Is this better?
Can you sing "You Believe in Love"? And in a share method.
Do you believe in love, every love?
Same.
Yeah,
You might need to call in from a different device. Just saying.
I don't think it's the computer.
He's got a new fancy mic. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's and they are very good mics. It's just that something's not playing nicely.
Something's going haywire.
How about this?
Still there.
It isn't new. It's new.
It's just it's a weird.
Stand by. Let me jump out and jump out.
Yeah, go ahead. Give her a shot. Anna could fix it.
This feels like a little bit like Empire Strikes Back when they're trying to jump to hyperspace.
Exactly.
It's like, here we go.
What do you mean they fixed me?
Maybe he'll be able to fix it this time. That's no moon.
But yeah, I'm one of that really like the extended universe, and I've got. If we would be doing a show in the house, I could actually then open up the headboard or the bookshelf above our bed. We've got 4 different sections to this bookshelf. I had it made. My brother-in-law is a cabinetier, and he made this beautiful headboard bookshelf, and it is full of hundreds of Star Wars. Every Star Wars book is there, and most of them are probably about half are hardcover. I started with the paperbacks, and then it's like, if I'm going to keep these for a while, I should probably go hardcover. So I was a huge fan of the extended universe. So when they came out, they were not following the canon of the universe. It's like, because I always felt like when you've read all the books and multiple times, and most of them, you had an understanding or you had a thought of, and you could catch the inside jokes that were referred to in book 7 of this series when it was referring back to something that happened in book 2 over in this series.
Right.
And I was so disappointed when they didn't follow that. And I'm sitting in a movie theater and just feeling like just an average viewer.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the books because it reminded me that, when Star Wars was all the rage and I was totally sucked into it as a kid, that was right around the time that I was really delving into books as well. And so I remember reading A Splinter in a Mind's Eye, which was considered the first unofficial sequel of Star Wars Episode 4. But I also remember reading the Han Solo books.
Oh, sure.
The ones that were spin-offs of some of his adventures. And one of my favorites was the series that they did post Return of the Jedi with Admiral Thrawn.
Oh, yes.
Where we first meet Admiral Thrawn. What was it? The Rise of the Empire or something like that?
Dark Force Rising.
That's what it was, Dark Force Rising. And there were some elements in that I really liked, and I don't know. I kind of doubt that they're going to be using them in the future movies at this point. So it's kind of disappointing to see some of those elements go away.
Yeah.
It was also kind of funny to read an article recently where Mark Hamill was suggesting that for this next episode, The Last Jedi, that wouldn't it be great if he had an evil twin, and he was fighting his evil twin. I'm like, yeah, but they did that in The Force Rising.
Yeah,
in the 3rd episode of it, where he's fighting a clone twin of himself,
Yeah,
and so there was a lot of interesting stuff like that they had built into it. But I also understood why they felt the need to kind of do a fresh start, and I get that. So I don't begrudge it too much. I mean, look at what the fresh start's done for the Star Trek universe, except for the 3rd one. The 3rd Star Trek, we don't want to get off on Star Trek, but the 3rd Star Trek was just deplorable. I was like, are you kidding me? This is actually making it to a movie. This should have been a TV episode and a bad one at that.
Yeah, I would agree, Evan.
But one of my little guilty pleasures that's actually kind of sucked me in recently, and Audrey was laughing at me the other night, is I've really gotten sucked into the Star Wars Rebels series.
Yes,
because it's actually building a new kind of canon of what happened between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. Not even Episode 4 now, Rogue One. And so I've been following those, and they've been bringing Admiral Thrawn into those, which is very cool. So It's been kind of fun to see that brought to life.
Yeah, the kids had that on the other day, and I hadn't really spent much time watching, and we sat down, and it's like, gosh, that was really well done. And they're like, oh, here's another one, because they DVR'd them, and we ended up, I think, binge watching like 5 or 6 or something back to back to back, and it's like, wow, these are really, really quite good. Certainly much better than...
I hadn't given them much time until last year when I accidentally saw an article online about Darth Maul making a reappearance, and I'm like, how'd they bring Darth Maul back? You know? And so I went and dug it up. Next thing you know, I was binge watching all of last season. I've still got the first early seasons to catch up on, and they said this season that just started is going to be the last one. So, but it's been quite fun to watch. And even though it is geared a little bit more towards the kids, the actual effects in it and the sound effects and the story are very, very much Star Wars. And it's been fun to follow those. It's kind of like a keep you engaged in the universe until the next movie comes.
For sure, yeah, that it definitely does. They've been kind of fun to watch, and especially in my case, you can watch something with your kids, and then you can have the talk and say, "Well, now this is probably," because now I have to go back to just thinking about the prior movies and trying to build in information that's based off the first. But if I go off into the universe, the extended universe, and that information is just completely lost. The kids are like, "Oh, why do we need to know that? No, we're not going to need that for the next movie, are we?" No. Ben, are you back?
Go ahead.
Well, should we give it a try?
Oh, we haven't heard any nasty noises so far, so that's why I was wondering if you had your mic on. So, yay, maybe we're good.
You know, I just restarted a computer. Who knows? I mean,
that usually works. Is it a PC or a Mac?
It's a Mac.
Okay, all right.
Normally pretty solid, but I mean, this whole show is dedicated to things that can go wrong. So,
exactly, and
it's same old mic, not the same old, but great mic. Love the mic. I have about 6 or 7 of them I use in various production things. It sounds great on a kick drum, by the way. I was saying that earlier, but it sounded like apparently Cher.
We did not hear that. No.
You know why? And you know what happened is the daylight savings thing. Turn back time, but.
See, I didn't realize you were going to tie this all together.
Good callback there. Good callback. Actually, I was trying to force push you off the show, Ben. So it's just me, but it didn't work.
Yeah, well, that was one of the questions somebody had asked us was whether or not you could, use, Jedi mind powers via electronics. So I guess.
Yeah, that was a good question. They were asking if a Jedi can say these are not the droids you're looking for. And that works on one person. What if they used a microphone or a radio transmission? Could they control a lot more minds? And according to the Star Wars canon, that some of it, which is no longer canon, it was revealed that the Emperor in the final battle in Return of the Jedi was actually controlling his forces out there that were taking out the rebellion. And that's part of the reason why using stormtroopers as clones was so important, because they weren't going to be big thinkers. They were just going to be big doers.
Right.
So they were easily manipulated. And when need be, the Emperor had enough power to control all of them. Would a good Jedi be able to do that? I don't know. And once again, good Jedi is probably redundant, but
Yeah. If I was a sound guy, he could. So.
See, there's where we get.
He probably would pull a Randy Bartlett, though, and just go, everybody applaud.
Give him the applause line. And now,
don't just give them a reason to applaud. Tell them to applaud. And use the Force to do it. That's even better.
So I do have to also give a shout out to K&M. So this microphone that maybe some of you are seeing for the first time, even though it's been on the show for a long time, it's been desk mounted, and now it's on a boom. And I just finally got around to getting this K&M boom arm mount, and I've seen many different boom arms from, various price points. Dude, this thing is solid. This is fantastic. You move it and put it somewhere, it stays right there. No wiggle. It's a legit pro deal. So I'm really impressed with this K&M boom arm mount for the desk. So real nice. I can move it around where I want it. And, of course, you'll hear proximity effect if I do this. But anyway. So I just had to throw that quick shout out to K&M for making a truly awesome product. So
nice.
Can't blame them for the noise. It's just a mount,
So while you're rebooting, Ben, John was asking me my thoughts about them scrapping the old canon when they basically restarted Star Wars. What were your thoughts about losing the old the books and all the information that came before it that got kind of scrapped?
I was always a lot more of a movie guy than I was the book and comic book guy. So, I was really okay with that. I mean, there's still plenty of plot holes that they tried to fill through various different ways. And I'm really okay with it. For me, obviously I like Star Wars. It kind of goes without saying, right? We were comparing our toy collection earlier, but I mean, it's just a movie. It's just entertainment. And if it gives them the creative license they need to expand the Star Wars story. I'm not really into the expanded universe thing either. You know, my kids are a little bit more, and I think it's great that, you know, there's all these different rabbit holes you can go down. But for me, I just dig being able to go in the theater and watch a movie that I enjoy and come home and watch it 19 or 20 more times and still enjoy it in the same night, you know.
And now the bootleg copy that I just recorded with my spy glasses.
Well, I read it later, but you know, disappointingly, one of the things that I haven't done yet, and I kind of vowed I would do it right away, and I just haven't got around to it, is to watch Rogue One right into Episode 4. I think that'd be fantastic. So.
That would be cool. They definitely did a good handoff on that. And you talk about filling plot holes. I think that whole movie was designed to fill the plot holes. How can you take out a Death Star with one charge?
Right.
But it was a brilliant workaround. It made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
You got slave labor being forced to do it, and he puts in a failsafe.
Yeah, exactly. It answered some of those questions too. It showed some of the maybe the human side of the Empire, that the Imperial officers could be conscripted, or they, you know, I mean, really, they're just this is the government and they're working in it, and maybe they don't agree, you know, they don't subscribe to the Emperor's line of thinking, you know.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much, and I know that some people were critical of Darth Vader being so powerful and menacing.
No, he had to be at the
very end. And if that filters right into Episode 4, they didn't think he was as powerful and menacing in Episode 4, which clearly we didn't have the special effects when they made that in '77 that they do now. But it didn't bother me that he wasn't as strong in the beginning of 4, because he's now got them captured in his ship. They can't go anywhere. So he doesn't need to be walking in and throwing people around. He's got them by the tail and they can't go anywhere. So he can just walk in and choke people.
And let's not forget that even though he's much more, we'll say, restrained at the beginning of Episode 4, when he's on the blockade runner and he's in interrogation mode at this point, he still very effortlessly crushes an Adam's apple and throws a guy against a wall. I mean, he just like nothing, you know.
Well, being that I was 8 years old when I first saw that in the theater, it scared the crap out of me.
Oh, did it ever?
I immediately found him to be an amazing villain who was extremely scary and needed to be stopped. And it's one of the critiques I've always had with Phantom Menace, because what did George Lucas do when he introduced us to Darth Maul? He profiled him as a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Look, he's painted black and red and has horns on his head, and he looks menacing, and he's got yellow eyes. Ooh, he looks evil. But if they would have let Darth Maul in the first 30 seconds of that movie come in and kill a small animal or a small child, we would have been like, oh, crap, this guy's really bad, and been scared of him. But we didn't have any reason to be scared of him until midway through when he tries to jump Qui-Gon. So it just, it really lacked the authenticity that was so there in Episode 4 when Darth Vader walks in, grabs a guy, chokes him, kills him, and this guy's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does it with incredible poise, Right. I mean, he's clearly has no patience, but he's whereas we see with Kylo a very emotive villain still developing. I think that's what I kind of get the feeling that's where they're going with gosh, I almost called it Empire. Excuse me. With Last Jedi.
Yep.
It kind of feels like they're trying to make us think it's Empire all over again, though. I mean, let's just real quick. I don't want to get ahead of us, but Luke on Act 2. Yoda on Dagobah. You got Crate, which is this white planet. Turns out it's really red. Hoth. You got ape walkers coming across the landscape, and you got low flying. I think they're trying to draw on what we expect them to do, but I think there's a lot of misdirection and diversion from Disney in this. And we'll get into. I've got some notes, things I've studied in the trailer. We'll get into that in a little bit.
I've really enjoyed the trailers, but the latest ones are showing so much. I'm finding myself not wanting to watch because.
Well, I think they're showing things, but they're also, if you can look really closely and you can start to pick out things. But I think there's a lot of misdirection as well. And Mark Hamill has been doing this since he agreed to come back. Which honestly, it's funny. A lot of people aren't real happy with Harrison Ford because he wanted Han Solo killed off. But I think it did become a really powerful character development and a part of the story. But we actually have Harrison Ford to thank for Mark Hamill to come back.
Yeah.
Mark Hamill wasn't going to come back. And when Harrison Ford said, I'm in, Mark's like, well, I can't be the only one that's not, you know?
And then he's in just to look grimacing at the very end. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. When are we going to see him?
But he's been trolling fans since he came back, basically hinting things. He, he really all but referred to Daisy Ridley's character as his daughter at Star Wars Celebration. And it was so obvious. I mean, Hamill's a good actor, but he's not that good. It was pretty obvious that this was an intended thing.
Right.
So kind of go, I'm not buying it. I'm not taking the bait. Sorry, Mark. You know?
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of misdirection going on, which I think is very purposeful. But I have to tell you, when I saw the Force Awakens, the moment that Leia tells Han, if you see our son, bring him back, the moment she said that, I knew Han was a dead man.
Well, I mean, let's not forget Harrison wanted Han killed off in the original trilogy.
And I agree with him.
It took him a long time. It took him 40 years to get his way, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, it probably would have been more powerful if he had sacrificed himself in Return of the Jedi. But you know, then we wouldn't have Kylo. So
now it's going to be interesting to see how a movie that's already done and shot, you know, of course, everybody knows Carrie Fisher's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we all miss her. But you know, now Disney has to figure out how to get rid of Princess Leia's character. And we see this powerful set of scenes in these shots in the Awake trailer where Kylo is targeting what we believe is her ship, and she's on. He senses her, and she senses him, and he's saying, you know, kill the past.
Yep.
You know, and of course, it's kind of come out now that Snoke told him if he killed Han, he would feel stronger and better, and he doesn't. You know, and so he's clearly struggling with, do I kill Leia or don't I kill Leia? And of course, we're all wondering. We're watching this. You and I, the suckers, we're going, oh, maybe that's how Leia dies. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think so. I feel like there's a lot more to it. I've got some notes of things we'll kind of go through maybe later on throughout the show, but kind of interesting things that I feel like can't be all misdirection, that they are things of substance.
Right.
And of course, there's plenty of misdirection. So I've actually found some contradictory things. One of the places I looked, you'll like this, Peter, is I looked at not only the trailer and movie art, but also toys.
Yes, there's a lot to be learned from the toys.
A lot to be learned from the toys, yes.
Why is there that 40-year-old man in the toy aisle? Well, you see, because
he has a credit card.
He's studying
lollipops.
Yeah.
Here, little boy.
Oh, boy. Don't make it weird. You have as many toys as I do.
They're BB-8 lollipops. That's all right. Yes, I have my fair share. So,
so somebody mentioned
it's a no judgment zone, Peter. It's a no judgment zone.
Hey, I wore my shirt. Look, I'm ready.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool shirt. I don't know if you saw it there, Ben.
No, I bring him back up to full screen, can you?
Here, let's go. I'm going to put it right there.
And
nice.
It's Darth Vader taking a selfie with stormtroopers, and he's being photobombed by Chewbacca holding a Rebels
I see it now.
1.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It is my all-time favorite Star Wars shirt.
Well, I'm rocking the Epic sweater today. It's not as cool as your shirt, but
that sweater's pretty rad. I gotta give you credit on that one.
You know, my wife found this for me, and I've actually got a few of them, and I'm sure that doesn't surprise anybody, but 3 or 4 anyway.
Okay, so I got to ask, when you were a kid and you first saw this, Ben, what were the first items you started your collection with as a kid?
Well, I didn't have much say in the matter as a kid. It was what I was gifted. I mean, as you mentioned, Darth Vader scared the living crap out of me, and is clearly my favorite character still, and for lots of reasons. One, not just, you know, he's a good villain. He was a good villain, but you know, of course, there's the story of redemption. You know, and so it really makes the whole movie, the whole trilogy, pretty awesome in my book. How you see that development, and you see a lot of grown-up themes in there from a kid's point of view. As far as toys go, I had some pretty cool things. It got to the point where Hasbro maybe kind of overdid it, and they had some surplus toys they had to dump, and we had a store called the Half Price Store where they were no longer in blister pack or anything. They were literally just dumped in bins, and you could get them for about 50 cents a piece. So, my grandma would take me there and I kind of load up on those. You had to, just search through another bin to find the associated weapons that go with that character. But anyway, I don't know. Some of my favorite, I don't know. I had the speeder bike, which if you push the button, it would explode. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
I had Dagobah. I had the Endor Village, which was pretty cool because, when I was a kid, I didn't think the Ewoks were dumb.
They're just miniature Chewbacca's. They're cheaper.
And they're cute, and I think they, I'm still not against the Ewoks, but I see it from a different perspective, and that sort of segue into, Porg. I'm kind of curious to see if there's any real character development for Porg, or if Porg is the next cutest thing.
Right.
I was in the Disney store the other day, and everywhere you go is Porg plush.
Well, I got a couple of the action figures when I was a kid. I think I had Luke. I might have had Darth Vader, and I probably played with them a little bit too much. But my parents also got me the Star Wars sheets and pillowcases. So
I have those now.
I slept in Star Wars. And at the time I was also taking piano lessons, and I talked my mom into getting me the music for the soundtrack.
Oh, awesome.
So that I could learn how to play Star Wars on the piano. And those were probably also some of the first albums that I bought. I actually bought the album. I remember the Star Wars soundtrack album was a double album because it had all of the music from the John Williams had done. And of course, one of my favorites on the whole thing was the Cantina Band.
Yes.
But there was just so much depth to that music, and it had so much connection to the movie that I'd listen to it over and over again. So I think I still
good. I mean, kudos to John Williams. I mean, that score, just wow.
Yep. And I've actually had grooms who've asked me if, when I show up at the rehearsal to direct the rehearsal, if I could play the Emperor's March for when Darth Vader walks in. Play that for when the bride walks in as a joke at the rehearsal. And I'm like, no, I want you to have a happy marriage.
You don't need to be beat.
Speaking, I just feel like, I mentioned I have the Star Wars sheets now.
Yep.
I feel like I should probably mention my wife bought them. So, she's not living in a total Twilight Zone. I think she's enjoying a little bit too. So it's not as weird as it sounds, well, it might be, but
It pretty much is.
Hey, once again, no judgment zone.
That's right. No judgment zone. Yeah. I have a pretty awesome wife. I can't believe it. Honestly, she puts up with my Star Wars habits. So.
Audrey laughs at my Star Wars affections. I'm still trying to get her to watch the original 3, and then go back to watch the other ones. But she's been to Rogue One with me. She's been to The Force Awakens, and I bought us tickets to go see The Last Jedi for the premiere night on Thursday night. Special fan thing at 6:00.
Ooh,
that
nice.
includes like some free giveaways and some behind the scenes stuff. So it's going to be an awesome experience, and we've already got our seats reserved. So it's no more camping out for this guy.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome.
Very, very nice. So I had someone had asked a question a little earlier. They had made reference to the Kylo Ren killing Han Solo, and of course, a debate online a few weeks ago. Now, gosh, probably about a month ago, I saw quite a few were debating if it was indeed that, or if Han Solo was the one who activated the lightsaber. And I don't know if you guys. I don't know if you guys got into that discussion, but
I don't think so either. Han Solo certainly looks surprised.
Yes.
Now that could have been an expression of pain, but it also looked like an expression of surprise. And I think Han Solo knew what was going to happen, maybe, but I don't think he intentionally killed himself to give Kylo what he needed. I don't think that was the case.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think he knew what he was getting into when he went there, but I don't know. I don't know that he really deep down thought he was going to die either. So,
yeah.
And then there's some that were thinking that he might be coming back to life, that it didn't indeed kill him, that fall and the lightsaber through the Emperor.
I hope not. As much as I'd like to see Han Solo back, I mean, I've heard he's back as a Force ghost and a few other things, but it's kind of one of those things where it's almost it's taking it a bit too far. I mean, I know that in Empire, Luke, fell in Bespin and hung onto a weather vane, but Luke also wasn't skewered with a lightsaber, so he lost his hand. But yeah, I hope not. Much as I enjoy the character, I hope not.
I don't see that happening, and I don't see it being viable for the series, and I don't see any reason at all to bring him back as a Force ghost. He wasn't a Jedi. He wasn't a Force user. So
yeah,
I don't see that happening either.
The only thing it could be is a flashback. Because the only thing I was thinking is if they would do that kind of a remembering some of the positive words from Han Solo, that kind of a thing. But even
they'll do a flashback of him playing ball with Kylo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he kept striking you out.
It's interesting because I don't know. I'm kind of curious if we'll hear this in the movie itself. But in the trailer, did you catch in the Awake trailer when they show the books, presumably Luke's books on Ahch-To, that you hear Yoda talking about the Force binds us, surrounds us. You hear Yoda's voice there. I don't know if you caught that. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done a good job in the trailers of taking things from the older movies and just kind of inserting them in the background. And I think part of the reason why they do it is so fanboys like us will get really giddy.
Well, it's working.
Yeah, it's working brilliantly. In fact, they did the same thing with Obi-Wan's voice in Force Awakens. When she picked up the lightsaber, she heard Obi-Wan say Rey. And it was Alec Guinness's voice. They just did some audio editing and caught something where he used that word and made it sound like he was calling to her, which was like very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one of the things I loved about Rogue One. You are aware, right, Ben, that in Rogue One, where they're doing the fighters scenes,
it's all original footage. Yeah.
A lot of that was original footage that had been cut, and they found it, harvested it, pulled it back, had the same audio, and it just. The thing I love most about that is when it happened, I immediately knew, even though I wasn't aware of it until I read on it later, I immediately knew that was stuff from the original because it felt so much like it.
Well, you can't fake those 70s mustaches like that.
Yeah.
You just can't grow them like that anymore,
What, no Porkins?
And there is a reference to Kenobi in the new trailer too. It's Leia calling out, Kenobi, your only hope. But
right.
Yeah, they really are trying to stitch these things very much together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna just look at my notes here. Some of the Easter eggs. This one doesn't surprise me all that much because of course we know Rey got to Ahch-To, but there's another toy reference here. There's a Millennium Falcon on Ahch-To playset. And it also doesn't surprise me because porgs are native to Ahch-To. So if there's a porg on the Millennium Falcon, it doesn't surprise me. But the question, of course, is what's it doing there again? Is it
right?
Rey? Is it picking up Rey and Luke? What for? Why? Of course, we see Luke on the Millennium Falcon in the
right.
trailer.
Are you talking about the scene where you see Chewbacca and the porg flying the Millennium together?
Yes.
Yeah, and that to me felt like something that's happened post Ahch-To, and they've now gone somewhere else, and for some reason those two are flying.
Well, it has to be post Ahch-To because there's a porg on there. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So maybe Chewie's new wingman is a stuffed penguin. I don't know.
Wouldn't that be great?
And let's see, what else did I? This one. I don't know how I feel about this one, but BB-9E. The evil BB-8, BB-9E.
Right. Well, he's not evil. He's just an Empire droid.
Well, okay, semantics, I guess, but it's supposed to be he's working for the bad team.
Sure.
Now, I guess as we saw in Rogue One, droids can switch teams, as they see fit or as they're reprogrammed. But
right.
With the was it K2SO?
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the actor's name and I just lost it right there.
He's the guy from Serenity who is the pilot, the blonde guy in the who's the pilot in Serenity.
I keep wanting to say Andy Serkis, but that's Snoke.
No, he's
Speaking of Snoke,
yes,
a friend of mine texted me at like 1:00 in the morning. This is the kind of thing that keeps him awake at night. To tell me he noticed in the trailer that Snoke was wearing a ring.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he was right. And so we're kind of wondering that because the ring apparently has some significance. If you just look at the way it's framed, you say this ring might have some significance here. So maybe there's a rumor out there. I did a little digging that it might be a kyber crystal in the ring. So who knows? But
might be. Maybe he's got a. Oh, by the way, K2SO was Alan Tudyk.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
He's great actor. He's done a lot of good stuff, but he was great as that robot. So the
snarky dialogue was fantastic. It's it's kind of like you got the neurotic C-3PO, but he just didn't have quite the snarky delivery.
Yeah. I thought he kind of stole the show quite a bit in that movie, though.
For sure, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, the ring they're calling the ring is from Spaceballs, and it's the Schwartz.
Oh, there you go.
They're tying universes together.
Nice. So Ben, did you notice when you were seeing the scenes with Snoke? Did you notice that it seems very apparent that if they are modeling the original trilogy, that they've now jumped ahead to Return of the Jedi, because it appears that Rey is the one facing Snoke. Yeah,
because you see her being tortured, and in the background you see the golden robes, and of course we see Snoke dressed in gold robes, and we
also see the red guards on the side and the red walls.
Yeah, the Praetorian
guard.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say Gamorrean guard.
Praetorian, I think it is, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, basically they look like samurai guards, not like the Emperor's royal guards with the long red robes, but these guys look like they're ready to actually do battle, not just stand there and look bored.
Yep,
they look like they're ready to get down.
They do, but yeah, so it looks like they've definitely got something built into the movie where she's going to be facing Snoke, which should prove rather interesting. But I'm definitely very anxious to find out who in the heck Snoke is and what his connection is to everything.
Well, I think they're counting on that. I think they're very much, And by the way, one of the questions is, what is Snoke like? Toys seem to indicate that Snoke is a tall, thin,
humanoid,
bipedal humanoid. So
yeah,
not just a hologram.
My favorite theory of all the ones that I've seen so far is that he is Darth Plagueis.
I've heard that, and I think it's got some legs, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Put Darth Plagueis into where he falls in.
Darth Plagueis was the mentor of Darth Sidious, also known as the Emperor, and the Emperor tells the story of Darth Plagueis as some story about how his underling killed him, but he was referring to himself when they're in the opera scene in Revenge of the Sith, and
allegedly he had learned how to use his midi-chlorians, which is a word I hope I never hear again, ever after that trilogy. But to create life, that the Force could actually spontaneously create life.
Right, but it also could extend life, and prevent death.
So he could still be around all these years later, of course. It's a possibility. I don't know. I guess we'll have to, just kind of wait and see. I think everybody's sort of curious on that one. One of the things that one of his lines is darkness rises and the light to meet it, and that's got me thinking a lot, because Luke sure doesn't seem super enthused to see Rey.
No, he doesn't, does he?
And he sort of seems kind of grumpy throughout everything, and I've sort of been thinking about that. The other thing is where's Luke at in his whole story? I mean, none of the toys have Luke with a lightsaber, but there is a poster that shows, the European poster shows Luke with a lightsaber.
Okay.
So sort of has us wondering, okay, has Luke got a lightsaber or not anymore? All the toys, he just comes with basically a walking stick.
Right.
So here again, kind of a toss back to Empire. You got, Yoda on Dagobah, remote planet with a walking stick. Now you got Luke on Ahch-To with a walking stick. But I found movie posters, kind of the light and the dark.
You're talking about this one.
Yes, exactly. And you'll notice that Luke is on
the top of both.
Yeah, he's on both posters.
Right.
So kind of, I'm thinking maybe Disney's trying to get into the Gray Jedi thing a little bit here, maybe.
Could be.
There is no more light and dark, and the Force there is no balance in the Force at this point, and Luke's sort of disillusioned with with all that. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. But again, I really suspect a lot of misdirection from Disney here.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see the direction it goes. I have been excited though in the previews to see some of the new toys, ships, and some of the new armaments, the new AT-ATs that look like they're walking on their knuckles.
Oh, the ape walkers, yeah, the heavy assault walkers, the ape walkers, yeah.
Those look pretty cool. You
got to remember the last time the Empire went after the rebellion on a remote planet, all they did was they flew around it with a tow cable and knocked them down. So you got to beef up your.
True. All it took was a tow cable.
Yeah.
And the Force.
You would think. I mean, of course, we see this scene of Kylo in what appears to be like a weapons factory. I mean, at some point, the Empire, or now we'll call it the First Order, has to say, okay, we built 3 Death Stars and they all got blown up by pretty much the same means, they fly tow cables around our walkers. We really have to do better as.
I can see you at their R&D meeting. Can we do better? Think of all the contractors we're losing.
You ever see the animated one where the Death Star architect is basically defending, he's like, it's no bigger than a womp rat, and I mean, seriously, is that even likely? No, and you mentioned all the new vehicles. I was thinking about one of the toys I saw was the Canto Bight police cruisers. Basically, they're apparently Rose and Finn go off on a mission, and I don't know if that's where they go, but Canto Bight is apparently this casino metropolis, and anyway, they're running from the cops basically, and so while you've got the escort ships on Bespin now, maybe in Canto Bight they've got these police cars, and you can buy a Lego set of that. Oh, yeah. So, and of course, the new TIE silencer that Kylo Ren is flying. We see Kylo Ren sort of following his grandfather's footsteps a little more, as he's now flying a TIE fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to take
a pretty sweet looking TIE fighter too.
And it is a pretty sweet looking TIE fighter. It looks very.
I think the one. Let's see if I can. I don't know if there's a way for me to switch my screen around. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. So on my desktop here, those are what you're talking about right there, right?
Well, his new one's even a bit more kind of.
Oh no! This is on Canto Bight. This is. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't.
Sorry, I jumped back a little bit.
Very well, yeah.
I think those are the things you're talking about on Canto Bight. The little police cruisers.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So you already got.
That's my desktop wall. It's a little busy right now, but my I was telling John before we started that I go to the website on a regular basis and download the latest images from the movie. And so they cycle every 5 minutes, and that's on all 3 of my computers. So I'm constantly getting a nice show of what's coming up.
So you're maybe a bit ahead of us on this deal here. Okay, did you see the new Executioner Troopers, the new Justice Troopers?
No.
Oh yeah. So picture a First Order trooper, but basically with like a black bar going down this part of their helmet, and apparently their role, I mean, they're an executioner. Is basically to dispense final justice to people who are considered to have committed treason to the Empire. And of course, one former stormtrooper comes to mind. He
kind of does.
So I could see Finn facing some executioner troopers in this movie.
Interesting. Well, there's also been footage where we see Finn going toe to toe with. What's her name?
Oh, Captain Phasma. Yeah, Gwendolyn.
Yes.
Character. Yeah, Captain Phasma. And for all the hype, I really thought she'd have more of a role in Force Awakens.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree.
So I think we're going to see a lot more of Captain Phasma in Last Jedi.
She's they've got a couple of comic book series that are based around her also that are out there right now. So that I think is a direction that some of the hype has been built with her character is from the comic side.
Well, hopefully it delivers. That's what I'll say. Hopefully it delivers.
Well, I got to say, I do like the chrome stormtrooper outfit. That's definitely pretty. Although there is a little bit of me that thinks it's just a little too Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, there is that. This
zoom, 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 zoom.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with it, if you're going to put that much time into the wardrobe, at least give the character, more of a meaningful part, So.
Yeah, but they wanted to save it for this one.
Only chrome stormtrooper ever in the history of the movies,
Yeah, well, and she got thrown in a dumpster, so she had to get cleaned up and polished off, so she'd be ready for the new movie. So.
Yeah, what is it with trash compactors in Star Wars, right? I mean,
I love the fact that they threw in a trash compactor. It was a great callback. I love that.
And boy, I tell you what, I guarantee you we're going to see a bunch of them in Last Jedi, cameos, throwbacks. I guarantee there's going to be a bunch of them. So
one of my favorites in The Force Awakens was when they were going to go. When Han was with Finn and they're going to go try to take everything out by themselves, and he's like, "We'll use the Force," and he goes, "That's not how it works." It's like, Finn, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's not how any of this works.
That was perfect. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where they go with it. Have you heard about the controversy surrounding the new Han Solo with them losing the directors and or Ron Howard apparently having to reshoot almost everything?
80%. Yeah. So, Ron Howard's a good director, and I don't know what led to that. I was nervous about the Han Solo anthology movie to begin with. This makes me even a little more nervous, but the fact that they obviously are interested, they're willing to spend the money to reshoot 80% of it, gives me hope that it will, be worth watching.
I was a little nervous when I found out that they had such young directors helming it, and it sounds like they wanted to do their own thing that was not the direction the studio wanted to go, and they let them get too far into it before they realized they had a problem on their hands. So
I'm sure these guys are good directors, but
but they've obviously had some controversy because they lost the guy who was set to direct episode 9 as well, and now JJ has stepped back in. So some people are excited about that, some people not so much. I'm okay with it. I really am, because whatever is going to happen in this one is going to really shape the direction he's going to be going with the next one. So I'm not so concerned with it, and I think JJ holds this series in such high esteem that hopefully he'll give it everything he's got.
I thought he did a good job with Force Awakens. The only thing about Force Awakens that really still makes me smack my head is the Death Star. Call it what you want, but can we not have another oblate spheroid that blasts things? I mean, come on.
That's one of the hard parts with sequels is they feel like in order to be a touchstone, they have to do what you've seen before, but now bigger and better. And and of course Han Solo calling it out, going, "It's just a bigger Death Star." Yeah, he even called it out. It was that bad.
Yeah. I think, maybe Harrison, is the kind of guy who said, "No, if I don't get to say that line, I quit."
I broke my ankle for this. I'm saying it.
Exactly. This is such a lame mass weapon here. We have to poke fun at it in the movie, or I quit. So I don't know. I'm really hopeful something else, it's better and more worthwhile comes out of Last Jedi. And I think we see, again, the obvious intentional nudges from Disney to have us believe this will follow, Empire. But as I grew older, Empire became far and away my favorite of the 3 movies. So
right.
I think this has the opportunity to be a tremendous jewel in the Star Wars franchise, and I just hope they don't blow that.
Yeah, me too. But I have a feeling I'll still see it in the theater several times. I've got my first ticket. I'll be getting several more, I'm sure, just so I can experience it there. But hey, Ben, how many times did you see the original Star Wars in the theater?
I was young. I was only 2, so I would say, and of course it was released and re-released. So,
right.
And we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so it wouldn't have been a lot of times for sure. I didn't see a lot of movies in the theater at all. But my dad took me to that one, for which I'm always grateful. I'm sure my mom thought it was poor judgment, taking a 2-year-old to see a movie like that. Clearly it was not. I would guess I saw it twice.
Okay.
I would guess I saw it twice.
I always have trouble pinning down how old you are because I think you're a vampire. But now that I know you're definitely younger than me, I'll just get over that. But my family saw it in the theater as a family. I would say probably about 15 times, thanks to all the re-releases. Wow. And so, and I can remember being on vacation up in like the Skagit Valley, which is north of Seattle. And we're in some small little podunk town that has some small little theater that, used to probably show silent films back in the day. and they had a poster up that they were showing a re-release of Star Wars. And if you went to this re-release, you would see a preview for Revenge of the Jedi. And so it had the Star Wars poster with the Revenge of the Jedi in the corner sneak preview. And so that was our first scenes we got to see of Return of the Jedi before the title changed. Right. And I remember going to see it once again, not only because we love seeing it in the theater, but also because this was going to be our first chance to see footage from the new one.
Well, I am jealous. I don't want to be older, but that would be one compelling reason to be older if I did. I think the first Star Wars movie that I really remember in the theaters was Jedi. Mm-hmm. Because I was old enough then to kind of go, not on my own accord, but, at that point you're kind of making more decisions for yourself and the action figures. And we were a bit more, invested into the franchise, emotionally or whatever. So,
well, Audrey has a grandson, Spencer, who's 6 years old, and we absolutely adore him. And we've been waiting for the right time to expose him to the Star Wars universe. He's aware of it. He's aware of it. He knows that I like Star Wars. The poster behind me of the Force Awakens was his idea for my Christmas present from them last year.
Oh, nice.
So he's clued into it, but he hasn't actually seen the movies. And I've come to recognize. He's 6 years old and he doesn't pay attention to movies. He'll watch them for a little while, but then he wants to go play outside. He wants to go do this. He wants to play with his iPad. And so I'm waiting until he's old enough to really be ready to absorb it. And that might mean 8 or 9, like I was when I saw it for the first time. But I'm patiently waiting until he's going to be ready to absorb, and then I'll enjoy them with him.
That's always kind of fun watching it through the children's eyes and seeing how they're seeing and reacting to it. And but it's not the same.
It's great that we can all agree on it. You've got this now 3-generational, franchise. Yeah. My dad took me to Star Wars. I took my son to Star Wars, and that story's played out all over the country. You got several generations into this thing. And my son is working and saving up money to buy Battlefront so we can play it, so
nice.
he can get me to play Battlefront with him. So
I haven't gone that route yet. I've wanted to, but I just don't have a lot of time to play the games. And the only game I've really gotten into in the last year was I bought the revived Doom. And I think all told, with a little bit of spare time that I spent here and there playing it, I spent 40 hours beating that game. So,
well, and I don't have a lot of time to play it either. And I'm gonna be on the road a lot here, pretty much the next 6 weeks. But it'll be something we can do a little bit here and there, and something we can do together.
I was gonna say, isn't that one that you can play from different locations together? So you could.
Well, probably. But listen, I mean, rarely do I have free time when I'm on the road. I try to pack stuff into that time as I can, and so I mean, as much as I'd love to say, oh yeah, I could be in my hotel playing this, that's just not going to happen. When I get to the hotel, I'm barely conscious. I just try to check a few emails before my eyes close. So,
I understand. I've seen it.
Guys, we got to jump. Thank you for coming in and sharing some Star Wars thoughts and such with us. And thank you guys for watching. We just put the link for the second show in the chat there on the YouTube channel. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Peter, Ben, thank you much, guys. We appreciate your passion for the Star Wars universe.
You're saying we're out of time already?
We are out of time.
Can't believe we ran out of time that quickly.
Yeah, say goodnight, guys.
We got to do this again sometime.
This is not the commercial you want to switch to.
We'll see you in about 5 minutes, gang. Thank you.